Hi everybody, Ann Wasserman here. This little video is to introduce you to several recent blog posts that I've made. Most of them are about my quilt repair work, but there's also one about an art quilt that I recently finished that I really love. I hope you find something in these to interest you. If you do, the links to the blogs are all down underneath this window. So head on over and have a read. Thanks. This first blog post is called A Bit of Whimsey. It's about this wool utility quilt, a comforter actually. As you can see, it's tied. One thing I find pretty whimsical about it is the way the ties march across the quilt in colored lines. And I think it's really a fun way to design and tie a quilt. The other thing that makes it whimsical is that it was washed at some point and this one piece of cream-colored wool shrunk and ruffled up the quilt. Makes a very interesting and fun texture to it. The owner and I both thought so, and the back is really interesting looking too. Shortly after working with this quilt, I saw a post by someone actually finding ways to do this shrinking process on purpose as a way of texturing some fiber art pieces. So that was really fun. The second blog post I'm highlighting is called Caring for Family Mementos. It's inspired by getting quite a lot of quilts recently, like the two pictures that I'm showing here, that are in really seriously bad condition, and this kind of wear all over the quilt. It makes the quilt really beyond repair, certainly if it's a family heirloom, because doing all that patching that it would take to put it back together really negates the heirloom quality of it, because so much of the work would be mine and not the grandmothers or mothers who made the quilt. So I wrote kind of a position piece on it, talking about what I think some of the reasons for getting so many of these kind of quilts lately are, and also ideas of what to do and how to better care for family heirlooms before they get to this kind of condition. Next we have a stylish quilt made by an amazing grandmother. This quilt was made in the 60s, 1960s I should say, and was in very good shape. It needed just a little bit of work. And it's a pattern I've never seen anywhere before. I just have the sense that it was maybe something that was published in a women's magazine like Good Housekeeping or something like that at the time. I'm not really sure. So if anybody recognizes it, do let me know. But it's a beautiful quilt. The owner told me it was made by her grandmother, and she wrote out stories about her grandmother and her grandmother's personality. And the bold design here and the use of larger floral prints and everything just kind of goes really well with this grandmother's strong personality. The fun thing about it really for me is that the fabric I had that went best in this particular worn flower I know is from the 1960s. It's very small bits of scrap that are still left from my first grade ballet recital in, I think it would be that 1961 or 62, which my mom made. The dance school passed out patterns, and the moms who could sew or found somebody who could sew for them made these little costumes. And so this fabric, this patching fabric, is particularly meaningful to me. Next up, we have Taking Care of a Crazy Quilt by Not Restoring It. I'm showing you here two close-ups of this really beautifully embellished crazy quilt. It is a family piece. The owner told me that she knows who all the people are who are represented by the initials that are embroidered on it. There was very little damage to it. This one block, I'm showing some of the damage, really some of the worst of it. There were a few pieces of shattered silk and a couple more elsewhere on the quilt. I ended up recommending to not do anything with it at this point, because these silks, the more handling they get, the more likely they are to get damaged. And I think the dangers of that for this piece far outweigh what would happen by conserving or restoring the damaged pieces of silk. Also because this would have need to have been shipped to come to me. So I also recommended that when she does decide to get some work done on it, to try to find someone local so it would not need to be put in a box and shipped. It's really just such a glorious quilt. I really recommend you go over and take a look at it, especially if you're a crazy quilt lover. The title of this post is Rayon String Quilt. Not a very spiffy title, but the quilt's really nice. It has also a very heartwarming story that the owner sent along with it. I am discovering that I really am getting quite attached to rayon fabric for quilts and clothing. It's very soft and lovely to handle and lovely to wear. I've included a photo of a close-up of some of the fabrics, just a beautiful quilt all the way around, and also a close-up of some of the embroidery on it. There was quite a bit of missing embroidery, so I learned a stitch that I've never done before. It's called the Cretan stitch. It's C-R-E-T-A-N, and it's quite easy to do and very nice and neat and effective, I think, as a silk quilt border decoration or rayon. And now for a change of pace, this is an art quilt. This was a wedding gift made for two of my daughter's friends who got married in Italy, and the post is called A Wedding in Italy. The photo was taken by one of the other guests, and I enlarged a part of it and translated it into fabric. It was a delight to work on this. Everything just fell into place. I found the right fabrics in my stash and just cut them, placed them. Everything was great. I think I made just one change to one of the fabrics. It's very tiny and very detailed. The pieces were cut and fray checked and glued in place. I decided not to sew them. All of that is what I talk about in the blog. I have a lot of in-progress pictures of it. I'm absolutely in love with it. This is a teaser for a blog post that will be coming eventually, as soon as I write it up. This is a quilt I recently finished repairing, and I really fell in love with it. I love the funky color combination, and a lot of the fabrics are really cool. I'm not really an orange-loving person, but I love the use of orange in this, and combined with the lavenders and blues and greens, it's just such a happy quilt. I really, really do love it. Here's a close-up of a couple of the blocks so you can get an idea too of how really wonderful the fabrics are. The block is called Combination Star, and I think it's dating to the 30s and 40s. A lot of the fabrics are in that era. The final quilt that I'm going to show here in this video is a basket quilt. This is an in-progress photo of the work going on. There were some areas of very severe damage, which I'm working on in this photo. There was quite a bit of weak fabric along two of the edges. This is a finished view of one of those mended edges. I'm a person who loves green, so a basket on a green background just makes me very happy. The little red and white stripe that you see here is a seersucker, which also makes me happy. So this one is one that I really, really, really loved having here and being able to work on. So I hope you did find something of interest and that you head on over to the blog and read more about it. I also want to remind you that I teach how to do quilt repair work. I can assure you that there are tons and tons of quilts out there just waiting for someone to come and repair them. I teach a big workshop once a year, usually in January, February. I also teach private lessons virtually. These lessons vary according to your skill levels and what the quilt you're working on needs you to do. If you're interested in these things, you can head over to my website and read more about them and how they work. Or you can email me and we can talk about what you need and what you're looking for. I'd love to spread the word about taking care of quilts and get more quilts repaired in the world. Quilts are beautiful. They hold tons of history, and it would be lovely to have them well maintained so they can continue to teach us all. So thanks for coming, and I hope to hear from you. Bye.